It was supposed to be the anti-faith alien film that made people doubt their beliefs. Now it's causing people to doubt in Steven Spielberg. After 3 huge flops, the question must be asked, is the director behind Jaws, E.T., Jurassic Park, and so much more seeking redemption? Or has the door been shut? Are studios done with Steven Spielberg? It's the kind of day, folks, that we love to bring to you, the kind of conversation you need to hear. Yes, we're fans of Steven Spielberg. We're not wanting him to fail, but fail he has 3 times in a row. And is it 3 strikes you're out in Hollyweird these days? What have you done for me lately? That might be the mantra. Click the like button. We'll tell you whether or not Steven Spielberg might be able to survive this latest dive that is Disclosure Day. Is it the end of Steven Spielberg? Well, some are saying that it just might be, at least when it comes to getting big budget films. And why? Well, take a look at this. The last 3 films that Spielberg has put out, including his finale as of late, the anti-faith film Disclosure Day, West Side Story in 2021, which gave us Rachel Zegler. Thank you, Steven. We appreciate that. So, no, really, truly, here on this channel, it made us a lot of money that you gave Zegler the spotlight. Only $76 million. It was an omen for Zeg. $76 million worldwide. What was the budget listed at for this one? Production budget of $100 million. You all know those budgets are not actual costs. Usually it exceeds. And if you include marketing, it's probably around $200 million at least. Give it a break even of $400 million. $76 million is all that it had. What about The Fabelmans? Came out in 2022. Many of you out there are hearing that and you say, what the heck is The Fabelmans? Well, that's because nobody went to go see it. But it was his 2022 return after Zegler made $43 million at the worldwide box office. If we go down to the budget, at least this one's more reasonable, $40 million. If we say that it had a 1-to-1 on marketing, it's $80 million. That means it needed $160 to break even, probably higher than that, but whatever. I mean, we're still at, it made 1/4 of what it needed. And finally, folks, here we are today. Steven Spielberg, the man behind Jaws, the man behind Indiana Jones, the man behind Jurassic Park, and so much more. $170 million is where Disclosure Day stands at this moment on a production budget of $115. I'll guarantee you that if you combine that with marketing, it's going to be at least $200 million, which means it has a break even of 400. And even the trades have been saying that to justify it, it needs 300 million. Notice the language. They're not saying what it needs to break even or make a profit. To justify. Christian, I go to you first on this one. Steven Spielberg is a name everybody knows and everybody has an expectation, but in the last 6 years, that expectation has not been met. He's getting up there in years, and I just wonder, do you believe that the name Spielberg means that studios will still give him the cash to make a blockbuster if he so wishes? Or did this anti-faith film Disclosure Day sort of seal the door shut, and will people now say to him, you know, Spielberg, why don't we do some artsy-fartsy award-chasing things instead?
It's a tough call. I mean, I think he's going to have more room, more leash than almost any other filmmaker. But having said that, we saw Warner Brothers kick Clint Eastwood to the curb a couple of years ago when Number 2 came out. So, you know, studios can be cold in cutting, and they can look at you and say, yeah, what have you done for me lately? I think my bigger issue is more of an artistic one. The Fabelmans was fine. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't a great Spielberg movie, but it was a competently assembled story. It was interesting. It was engaging. There's no real stain on his legacy, and it was never going to make a zillion dollars, so that's fine. But just watching Disclosure Day is such a mess, and the fact that it was from a Steven Spielberg story, I think from a creative point of view, that scares me more. Yeah, I think he won't have carte blanche. There may be some questions. I think he's in such rarefied company, and I think there's so much goodwill that he'll have some wiggle room. But you know, even they've cut down on Scorsese's budgets over the years. I mean, he had to go to Apple and Netflix to get some of their big budget projects made. So it could be the budget crunch moving forward. Maybe that's the best thing. Maybe he doesn't really both warrant all that money, but also maybe it'll make him a little more creative, a little feistier, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think that Disclosure Day, obviously, yes, is 100% anti-religion, and it really just is a very bad X-Files episode. But
that's the best thing I've heard to describe this. I'll be honest. That's the best way to describe it.
It really is. But the thing is that Steven Spielberg has a net worth of $7 billion. He is a behemoth. And so Hollywood Hollywood doesn't want to say bye-bye to somebody who has created such influential movies that we still talk about and know and love today, and that ultimately still make money with merchandise.
You know, he's such an interesting director because, as I've said, I'm not rooting against him. He made my favorite movie of all time, which is Bridge of Spies. And yet he also made my least favorite movie of all time, which is Artificial Intelligence from 2001, which I left that theater and said, please, never let me have to sit through something like that again. I mean, it was so depressing in every possible way. But the last 5 or 6 years of Spielberg's career have been depressing in every single way. I will say, and Marvin, you tell me what you think about this. Marvin, did you see Disclosure Day?
No, I made the decision. I was going to go see it to review it for geeksandgamers.com, but instead I made the decision to go review The Furious instead. And that was the single greatest decision I've ever made in my life.
Yeah, you've raved about that, so have others. I've got to see it too. Disclosure Day to me, you know, every lens flare is pure perfection where it's placed. Every shot is amazing. The choreography is tremendous. The alien language thing Emily Blunt does, I could do that too, and it's not all that impressive. But everything else is just amazing. But the story is terrible, and it seems like he was behind the story, and it's just so third grade kind of, you know, but thinking it's amazing, and then doing this thing about how it's going to shake people's faith, and is like, with this? Yeah. You're going to shake people's faith with this? And it was like from 20 years ago in terms of how it thinks the world works with media, you know, and where you would actually go to disclose this kind of thing and how the world would react. Marvin just seems so out of touch.
Yes.
So it seems to me like if Spielberg's going to have a future at all, it's got to be with somebody else, not necessarily somebody that he's working with, but somebody that has been assigned to him, a script that has been made, a screenplay that's been made that somebody else thinks is amazing. They say, make this, because you still got it behind the camera, but you don't have it in the manufacturing of everything else.
I think it's not long before Steven Spielberg is making streaming movies the way Martin Scorsese is. I think that you're going to get him. He's going to make all his artsy-fartsy stuff on Netflix where you don't actually know how well it does, and just going to hide behind that for the end of his career. The guy's 79 years old. He doesn't need to be doing this anymore. And like you said, he's a billionaire. So, I mean, he could, you know, live out the rest of his life just, you know, talking about E.T. and Jaws and Jurassic Park. But, you know, he's clearly not content to do that. I mean, but how many studios are going to invest tens to hundreds of millions of dollars in this man going forward? Even though he's Steven Spielberg, it doesn't bring in the people anymore. I don't think, like, the younger generation see him as, you know, in the same way that we see him. They see Christopher Nolan, and they're wrong, as like the new Steven Spielberg. But I mean, it is like, you know, Christopher Nolan in his arrogance stated in The Dark Knight, you know, you either, I'll paraphrase, you either retire a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the hack. And I think that's kind of where we're at with Spielberg right now.
As much as you can feel sorry for a multi-billionaire, I feel sorry for him because I think, Christian, he really thought this movie was a masterpiece, and it feels like he spent years on it, and this was his big final aliens thing to make us all think, and it just came across so amateurish in terms of not the delivery, but the content itself.
Yeah, in every way. It's the kind of movie that you watch it, and even if you get a modicum of entertainment value from it, the more you think about it, the more it just crumbles upon even the most cursory inspection. I like what you said about sort of him having a handler. I almost think like James Cameron should have that too, to a degree, because he's a genius at what he does, but his dialogue and some of his storytelling is so infantile. If he collaborated with someone and used his specific skills, that would make an incredible film. I think with Spielberg, because he's got such chops behind the camera, he can still deliver, but he doesn't have the other sort of skills have atrophied, I guess. It's very sad, but imagine the nervous, jittery, shaking executive who has to knock on Mr. Spielberg's door to say, you can't get that budget. We turned you down.
Well, it's going to have to be Josh tomorrow, you know, at Disney, because he's the guy who said, oh, Jim Henson's final work inside our parks. Yeah, we'll just crater that sucker, and who cares? Vera, last question goes to you, and I'm very interested in what you might think about this. I wonder, does this give pause now to studios? Because this film was marketed as something that would cause people to question their faith, et cetera. You think that's going to be a marketing ploy? They say, no, we pass on that going forward. Or do they just not get it in Hollywood?
I think if it was their overall plan and they greenlit a lot of different projects like this, then they'll continue to barrel forward with those plans. It's sort of like in the video game industry, everybody hates live service games, everybody rejects live service games, and yet we're going on a decade of live service games being pushed just because development times are so long, companies are so set in their ways. And so I don't think that one movie failure would really change that. But obviously, I think that this is just a general narrative and theme that people are going to continue to reject.
There you go, folks. Disclosure Day did not cause people to question their faith, but it did cause everybody to question their faith in Steven Spielberg as a director who can still deliver in the ways he once did. What a joy, what a pleasure, folks, to get to make a video for you, and thank you for watching the entire thing. We could not do this without folks like you. We could not do this without the truly dedicated and those who care about what we have to say. And you can share this out with even more people by clicking that like button, by sharing this out across the social medias, and by doing this one thing, folks, that we don't say enough. Click it and stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Until the next time we spend time together, folks, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.